All right, well, this is our worm box, and boy, it took a while to get it started, but now, we end up, here, let me show you. Let's see if I can find something. We're going to have a bunch of worms. There we go. Just a handful of worms. Look at that. They're everywhere. Yeah, I just love it. And these red worms will compost down the just the stuff out of the kitchen, and we end up with a half a box of worm castings, which is like spectacular compost. And also once in a while I'll take these worms and I'll go ahead and feed the chickens. Here, girls. And they're excited about that. Okay, there you go. And then we turn just a little bit, and although I'm not sure if it's going to happen this year, we impregnate these logs with shiitake mushrooms. But it's been so dry, I'm not sure we're going to get mushrooms out of these this year. Now the problem is that in order to do shiitakes, you have to use pretty much a fresh log. Well, about 4 months old, and these logs they were 4 months old last autumn, and now they're too old to re-impregnate. But we drill holes in them and put little plugs in, and about every year we'll get a bloom, and probably 20 pounds of mushrooms, which is not bad for a little stack like this. I mean, literally, there'll be mushrooms all over all of these logs. But for right now, nothing, because we haven't had that much rain. So we're going to talk about what happened to me. I was probably about 22, maybe 23. I was back in college in the art department, just, learning about art and being an artist and just excited about it every day. And one day my sister calls me up, my middle sister, Dolly. She calls me up. She goes, Nick, we're going to go to, Stanislaus River. No, not Stanislaus. Merced River. And we're going to float down Merced River on inner tubes. You want to come along? And I went, oh, hey, yeah, that'd be fun. So we all got in a pickup truck, and in those days you could ride in a pickup truck, and, in the back. And there was probably, 10 of us, three people up front and 7 or 8 people in the back, just kind of hanging out. And that was, and a bunch of inner tubes. So we get all the way to Malone's Dam. I mean, not Maloney's Dam, but to the Merced River, which, by the way, comes out of Yosemite. But we were much lower down in the flats by Parrott's Ferry, which was, just slightly rolling hills. And we got out and we got our inner tubes and we dropped them in the water, and it was like the water was like stagnant. And it was like, oh man, this isn't going to be any fun. I says, well, how about let's just go up higher and see what we can find. And everybody's, yeah, let's do that. So, we probably spent an hour driving up and going off to the left and going down into the canyon and just seeing that the water was still pretty stagnant and getting up a little higher and a little higher. It took an hour to mess around to try to find a place that was going to be good. And so we finally found a place, and it was this little kind of backcountry road, and we drove in and down into the canyon, and we were right at the base of the after bay of Maloney's Dam, which was, the the dam for the after bay was maybe, it couldn't have been 100 feet high, and it was an earth-filled dam, or an earth dam, and it couldn't have been 100 feet high, and the water came around, and the water was busy and rushing, and it was pretty exciting, and we all just got ready to go in, and just at the last moment I says, hey, let's tie our inner tubes together, and that way we experience the whole trip together. And everybody, yeah, that's a good idea. So we tied the inner tubes together with this. I mean, it was a pretty strong rope. And we pushed it out into the water, and the water was kind of running. It was moving along. It was, early summer. We weren't worried too much about it, and we got out into the water, and the current kind of just carried us downstream, and we could see, and of course you don't have any steerability or we didn't have paddles or anything like that. We were just following the current, and the current carried us downstream about, 100, 150 yards down, and it was obvious we were going to run into these trees, and I'm thinking, oh geez, we're going to run into these trees, that's going to mess up our whole trip. But, fine, we'll get into the trees and then we'll disconnect and take off from there. So we get into the trees, and the water and just as we hit the trees, each person would step up into a branch and get up above the water, and the water took those inner tubes and they just twisted them and tore them apart. And I was looking down, I was holy shit, that was what the water could do. It was my first experience with, real serious water pressure. I mean, it literally just snapped the ropes. I mean, this was like 3/4 inch rope. It was good rope. Just snapped it, tore the hell out of the inner tubes, and everything went downstream except us. We were sitting in that tree. Now the tree was about, 30 feet off of the shore. And, I was a good swimmer. I have no problems. I was at the prime of my life, strong and healthy. I ran every day. I swam laps every day. Oh man, I was just one healthy guy. And so, I thought, well, it's no problem. We can just swim across, So I jumped in the water, or dove in the water, and swam straight across. No problem. And the second person behind me also was young and strong, and he just dove into the water and swam across, no problem. And we got to the seventh or eighth person, and each one progressively was not as good at swimming and a little more concerned about the water. And the one person we got to, number 5 or 6, something like that, jumped in the water and pew, was immediately carried downstream. Now, we were on the other side and we were ready for that, so we just ran downstream and jumped in the water and grabbed her and drug her to shore, and realized that the rest of the people were not going to be, it wasn't going to be as easy to get across. So, we're wondering what we're going to do. The rope's gone, so we passed a farmhouse on the way down, and I said, hey, somebody go back to the farmhouse and get some rope so we can, make a kind of a pull to get the rest of the people back across the shore. So one of the guys, runs off, and we're just sitting there, and they're 20 feet away, and we're on the shore, and everybody's safe and happy and no problem. And the kid comes back with a rope, and he says, we are so lucky that we tied those inner tubes together. He says, because the farmer tells us that just around the corner it drops into a waterfall and cascades for the next mile. and we all would have basically been dead. He said that the farmer said that 3 or 4 people died there every year. And I was just like, whoa. And I'm feeling responsible because I'm the oldest of the lot. And so we worked probably most of the day getting those 5 people across. Because progressively, as you went from one person to person, they became more and more frightened that they weren't going to make it. And so we had to kind of take our time and put a rope around them, and oh man, it was just a mess. And we got to the end, and nobody got hurt, and nobody got killed, and we jumped in the car, or in the van, the truck, and drove home. And I, at that point, was so exhausted that I just crashed. And I saw nothing until they woke me up at my house, and that was that for that. So one more lucky strike, one more angel, guardian angel overlooking me. Nick Collier checking out.